Hello everybody, and welcome to my channel, Windy Trey. I wanted to create this introduction video to explain what a person can expect to see on this channel, and kind of fill some questions for why create a gaming channel in the year 2024 with only VODs? After all, there's so much content already on YouTube, why add another one? So, first off, to introduce myself, I'm Windy Trey. If you're curious where the name came from, all stems back to Harvest Moon on the Super Nintendo. When I was first playing Harvest Moon back then, I was like, alright, farming simulator. Don't really know what to expect. So I was like, nature. What do you find in nature? Trees. But I remember when typing down tree as a character name, didn't make a whole lot of sense. I was like, alright, that's kind of weird. So, what I did instead is that basically I decided to change the final E to an A, ended up with Trey. And then, when you get around basically being able to name your farm, I can't remember if that was capable or not in the Super Nintendo version, or if that was introduced later on PlayStation 1 and N64, but I went with the name Windy Farms. Because when you think of nature and you think of the outdoors, you think of a nice calm breeze. And honestly, my favorite weather is really strong gusts of wind, like right before a storm hits. Love that stuff. Well, that's where the name came from. As for what to expect in this channel, primarily gaming VODs, so videos on demand. I have a ton of gaming backlog to get through. You wouldn't believe it. I got games going back to the Wii that I still need to play. Not to say that some of those games are all going to make their way here, mind you, but I hope to basically get a good chunk of them on here, since I have a long history of sharing my gaming experience with other people. Like when I was younger, back on the Nintendo, I used to go over to my friend's place right after school, and we would play all sorts of Mega Man games. Mega Man 4, our main go-to. And we would just pass the controller back and forth. We'd each basically choose a Robot Master, try doing the level. If you die, go back to select a Robot Master, pass the controller, rinse, repeat, until eventually we get to the fortress, then we beat the game. And that's the thing, sometimes we would meet up and just play the game from scratch every single time. Man, still remember the first time we got the fake out of the actual fortress is not the real fortress, and then you got the second fortress, and then you find out that the passcode doesn't load up to the second fortress. It was insane. But, yeah, I figure if I'm going to be going through all these old games, I might as well share them with the world. And all of that, but I want to share it with my future self. Honestly, when I look back and I try to remember a lot of the old gaming stuff, it varies, depending on the game, how well I remember it or not. And so, I want to be able to look back at some of the games I played and go, oh yeah, that's how I felt about this particular moment, or that's how I felt about this particular thing. I want to share my experience. I have a deep love and long history with games, and I just want to fully embrace that, and I want to share that where I can. So, that's why I'm here. That's why I have another channel. So, not to say that I have a previous channel. This is my first foray into the realm of sharing gaming experiences with the wider audience out there. I've usually done more stuff like clubs or in the working adult world, lunch groups, whatnot. I played my fair share of Smash, as most people have probably. And so, do not expect professional art for any of the thumbnails, any of the art. If you're here, you can see basically what I probably have chosen for my YouTube icon and banner. It is the most amateur of art. So, maybe over time I'll replace that. Maybe actually throw some money at things, hire one of the various artists I know and actually commission something nice looking. But starting out, this is what I got to work with. I might later on branch into things such as gaming reviews or general thoughts on the game industry. Heavens knows I have more than my fair share of thoughts on all that. I remember back in the day, we're going back to the 90s now, Electronics Boutique. We're talking around the time when Ocarina of Time and the N64 came out. Still remember, there were lines going around the block inside the mall for that game. But yeah, the manager at the electronics boutique tried to hire me because I was selling more games than her employees were. Since even back then, I kept a very good pulse in the game industry, and I tended to know when things were canceled or shuffled around or what the next big thing coming was. And yeah, she tried hiring me, but turns out that due to child labor laws, couldn't be hired. So a bit of a shame, but it just goes to show how far back my history with games go. And I mean, me personally, I like also watching some people on YouTube play games out there, especially the younger generations, which I say younger, but some of these people are born around the turn of the century, where to me it's young, but to them, they've, grown into, like, some of these people started on the 3D era, and their modern day games are my equivalent of what things are like in the GameCube era, where, man, I have some GameCube games that I would love to basically maybe dig out and put some recordings on here. Gotcha Force is great. Harvest Moon, Magical Melody, very good game. As you can tell from the name of the channel, I do love me my Harvest Moon games out there. But don't expect just those games. I love every game genre under the sun. Okay, love might be a bit of a strong word. I enjoy practically every game genre under the sun. Even ones that I'm pretty cold on, like not a big fan of tower defense games. But, I mean, Plants vs. Zombies? That was absolutely fantastic tower defense game. I've always held the strong belief that there are great games in all genres. You just gotta know where to look. I mean, obviously, some of it comes down to personal preference. So, I plan to tackle a wide variety of games in this channel. You might not see some stuff like live service games. Honestly, one other reason I'm trying to do game recording with some of this kind of pseudo, not quite streaming, but video on demand type content is so that way I can actually beat some games. Having played MMOs going back to around when Ultima Online was like just fading out, and then I remember buying EverQuest when it first came out, really excited because I liked Ultima Online, and then turns out my computer couldn't run it because it didn't have a 3D graphics card back then, and oh boy, like, I have been playing live service games for some time, so I want to shift some of that stuff back to the single player stuff. There's so many games out there that I have not begun to play, not finished playing. I used to be known by so many different friends for being the go-to guy for particular genres, and all my friends have surpassed me in that particular regard, and I need to catch up. Whether it's horror games, JRPGs, CRPGs, action games, platformer games, turn-based games, I'm going to try and tackle as much stuff as I feel comfortable doing. In fact, I've already done some test recordings on a few things, some of which will basically end up on their way to the channel, and some of them not so much. I went through Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 4 into 5 as kind of a test for prepping for this particular type of setup, and yeah, recordings for those came out well enough, but I learned some lessons, and you probably won't see that on this channel. Heavens knows I was already worried enough about copyright, so, that is what it is. But yeah, a lot of different stuff's going to find its way into the channel. I hope all of you enjoy the journey that I plan to go on doing all this. Obviously, who knows basically how long things will go on for, but I mean, if I ever do kind of close down the channel, I would give a heads up, provided I'm still breathing at the end of all things. So, we'll have to kind of see how that all plays out. But, yeah, join me for the ride. Don't forgive any poor audio quality or faux pas that I kind of do in terms of getting this stuff out there. Amateur artist. For any of my thumbnail art, the banner art, the YouTube art, all that stuff. All this is a brand new experience for me, but I want to share it with everyone out there. And yeah, I mean, I think that kind of covers what this channel is about. A lot of my gameplay, you'll probably hear me ramble, just like I ramble for this video, so prepare for that. This will not be a channel that has only silent recordings. I want to add enough unique spin to my stuff to basically justify uploading a playthrough of it. And I want to be able to go back and hear my own thoughts on things. So I'm gonna ramble. I'm gonna make noises. I'm gonna read out a lot of, unvoiced character dialogue. So prepare yourselves for all that stuff. Um, and yeah, I mean, hopefully it's all a good time, and we'll see how all this goes. For any of you that are curious about this background got going on here during this introduction video, this is from the indie game Summer House on Steam. It's a fun little kind of Zen garden type game. You might not see a lot of those on this channel because there's not really an end to them, but maybe I'll do some highlights here and there depending on what games I kind of feel are underappreciated. Steam is always seeing tons of new releases out there, and a lot of games aren't really given their fair share. The fair share? Fair shake. We'll go with that. Fair shake. So maybe I'll highlight a few of them, but I'm looking for games that have endings, which, some of those will be indie games too. So, alright. I hope that answers everyone's questions. Maybe I'll try recreating an introduction video later on if the channel evolves, or if any questions that seem of vital nature aren't answered in this video. But, yeah. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what to expect, and let's all have fun. Alright. Goodbye, everyone, until any of the videos that I eventually upload to the channel. Alright. Later!